Hello, and welcome to the introduction to Art Mage. This is going to be a review of a spreadsheet that we built, as well as the links that'll be found down below. But I wanted to go over some of the combos and talk about what I think makes the spreadsheet a little bit different compared to others. I also want to preface this with I'm not like a professional player by any sense. I do have a strong hobby playing this game, and I understand this deck very well. But with all the stuff I've been seeing in groups and other lists being posted, I figured I would take my shot and actually show you guys what we've been working on for the past month or two. This is something that is a culmination of a lot of different testing and a lot of different experimentation as well as builds. And kind of showing off the spreadsheet here, we do have like 1.5 card combos, 2 card combos, 2.5 plus card combos, as well as deck lists that we're going to go over as well. All of these things are different potentials that all have their own piece and their own power that could be provided into the deck. So let's go ahead and talk about our pre-deck list here. So our first deck list here features a few key things. By no means is this the perfect list either. This is just kind of something, again, that we started with. 3 Medius seems very important. It kind of seems like the way to go with the deck. 3 Grappler as well. I feel like these two are definitely 3 ofs in the deck. You could argue that Grappler could maybe be a 2 of. But you definitely need to be able to open these cards and extend part of your combo. A lot of the combos that we play through play directly through these two. Next we have the 2 Power Patron. 2 is the pretty standard number. It's one of those cards that if you don't want to open it and you don't want to open it and have it in deck already, or you need it in deck. So you want to have the access to this card in deck at all times. Then we have Litera. Litera is our 1 of, could probably be a 2 of. She helps recycle things. And same thing with Feinmail. Arguably both these cards could be 2 ofs, but in the testing that I have done, I found that 1 is more than enough. 3 Academy, Artmage, Academic, Arcane Arts, Acropolis. We'll be just shorthanding this to Arcane Academy or just Arcademy, probably. The Artmage, Vandalism, Assault, another 3 of in the deck. We'll probably just refer to this as Vandalism. Again, another 3 of in the deck that's absolutely necessary. To get you your Medius, it also provides protection for your Academy, so very much a 3 of in the deck. Alteration is something that we had talked about maybe playing multiples of, like 3 of. But in testing, really only 2 came up. And because of that, we're going off of this ratio here. And then 1 copy of Succession. It's not a main part of the combo. It's nice to open if you can, or get to it if you can, but it's not absolutely necessary for the combos that we're going to be showing off today. And then the last thing is Awakening. Awakening is going to be not a major part of the combos, but it is a nice part of the combos that we'll be showing off. This card is the best example would be like Magical Meltdown, so being able to protect your fusion spells, or sorry, your fusion activations and fusion effects is very key. And then the Banish effect is also nice because you can, and we'll talk more about it in the videos, but you can also like trickily activate Nerva's effect by banishing this or banishing another card that has a quick effect, as well as the other effects, but we'll go over all of that as well. Fusion Deployment, absolutely 3 of in the deck. It gets you your Medius gets you everything else. We'll go over these combos as well. Crossout and Call By. Everything else from here is pretty much up for interpretation. Hand traps are always changing in the meta, so these are very quickly could be something else. A lot of people are cutting Imperm right now, and I can understand why. If you want to cut Imperm for, say, like Sales Ban or something like that, you totally can do that too. But this deck also does need spell traps to pitch off of the field spell. So that's why we are playing cards like Imperm. Again, this could be Sales Ban. It could be even like a Droplet or Dark Ruler or something along those lines, or even like a book. Either the book cards could be very good here as well. So that's something to keep in mind. Side deck, again, is going to be format dependent, so I would take this with a grain of salt. As far as the extra deck goes, I am partial to 3 Diactorus, 2 Nerva, at least for the time being. You could probably cut a Diactorus and cut a Nerva for additional Super Poly targets or other fusion targets that are going to come up. I know in another list that I have, that I will also show off here, it opens up the room for more Super Poly targets and more potential fusion targets, things that combo well with Succession. Over the last weekend at the Nationals, we did see that Succession was able to get the Art Mage deck into a Azamina Ilia Sylvia, so that is huge for the deck. I'm going to be exploring those combos as well. As far as the links go, Little Knight's pretty standard. Cross Sheep is really nice for Nibiru plays, and I'll explain that when we get to it. Lino, because most of our deck is light. Selene and Access Code are key pieces here. They help you climb in situations where you may be hit by like a D barrier and you need to be able to clean up board states and whatnot. And then Typhon just helps if you are absolutely out of gas on everything else. So that is the deck list that we'll be talking about mostly in this. So I do quickly want to go over the cards of Art Mage and what it's going to pertain to, as well as how they kind of interact and what they do. So a big thing to start with is that the Art Mage main deck monsters like Graflair, Litera, and Phymel all have the effect, share the effect that if you have an Art Mage card on your field, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then they all have an additional effect depending on what you do. So Graflair will get you a Spell Trap. Litera will get you a card back for a Art Mage card from your graveyard to your hand, and Phymel lets you draw a card. So starting with Medius, because Medius is kind of the key card here for the deck, and moving forward will probably be the key card for every Medius lore deck moving forward. He will probably be the catalyst for everything. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add to your hand or special summon one Power Patron monster from your deck. If this card is in your graveyard, you can shuffle one monster from your hand or face-up field into the deck, and if you do, special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. Each effect once per turn. He is your key combo piece, he is your starter, he is everything you're going to need for this deck. The second up would be Graflair, so like I said, they have the other effect of special summon and with an additional effect. So the first time this card would be destroyed by battle each turn, it is not. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. Special summon itself, then you can set one Art Mage card directly from your deck, and then its other effect is if you can target one spell trap card your opponent controls, destroy it. This is a quick effect if you have 3 or more different monster types on your field. That's going to be really key for this deck, is having that 3 different types. Litera, if you take no battle damage involving this card, which is nice because the stats aren't really great. Again, the summon effect, it adds back a card from graveyard, and then quick effect. Doesn't matter how many monster types you have, so during your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you can special summon one Art Mage monster from your hand or graveyard, except itself, then return this card from the field to the hand. So this will get you cycling back into other pieces, which you'll see later on in this video through like Nibiru and combos like that. And then we have Phymel. If your opponent cannot target level 6 or lower Art Mage monsters you control with card effects, this is going to be key because not only are Graflair and Litera and Power Patron all under level 6, but it also means that we could potentially be getting more Art Mage support in the future. We're still missing a level 2 and the level 6 itself, so that is something to consider moving forward with this. Again, her effect is you can special summon her if you control another Art Mage card, and then this one lets you draw a card. It's really important, though, is because this card can be ashed. The special summon, or I guess purged as well. The special summon is tied directly to a draw, so very similar to White Binder. If you ash this, the card will not summon. And during the main phase, if you have 3 or more monster types on your field, quick effect, you can negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls. Also, until the end of this turn, their attacks become half. This is a very, very key card. It allows you to slow down your opponent. The mass wave of negates is very nice. And then having the stats means that your monsters are probably more than likely going to be protected from battle. The other monster card I really want to talk about for this deck is Art Mage Power Patron. So you cannot special summon from the extra deck except fusion monsters. You're going to see these on all of the Power Patron cards moving forward. I know in the next set, in the Dooms deck, the Power Patron Dooms, or whatever its name is going to be, or Dooms Power Patron, it locks you into XE summon while it's on the field. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. During the main phase, quick effect, you can fusion summon one Art Mage fusion monster or one Nerva the Power Patron of Creation from your extra deck using this card you control and monsters from your hand or field. And in the combos you'll see later on, it does show ways to get into both Diactorus and Nerva. I also, the way it's worded here means that we probably will be getting another Art Mage fusion. Again, looking at Doom Z, they had 3 cards revealed for their extra deck. We haven't gotten the 3rd one yet for Art Mage, so it's very, very possible that we do get that extra card. Additionally, if this card is sent to the graveyard from hand or field, so yeah, this card is sent from hand or field to the graveyard, so meaning if it was pitched, which we'll talk about later on as well, You can add one Art Mage spell trap from your deck to your hand with a different name from the cards in your graveyard. This really ties into the ratios that we're playing as well. Typically things like Academy Arts you want to have up. Same thing with Salt, like these are more than likely going to be up most of the time unless they're taken out by your opponent. So these are wannabe 3-of, stay-ofs, they're combo starters, and we'll talk about them. Alteration, Succession, and Awakening being at 2, 1, and 1. They have different names than the 3-ofs that we're playing, which means that we can more likely search them, as well as things like Alteration being able to banish itself, which we'll talk about in just a moment here. But this allows us, if we open A or B, we can search C or D from there. So, Art Mage, Academic, Arcane Arts Acropolis, better known as the Academy, or if you're a joker like us. During your main phase, you can normal summon one Medius the Pure in addition to your normal summoner set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. So, in the event that, let's say you open double Medius, or you open another piece and you need to normal summon it to get the rest of your deck going, it's not going to be a big deal because you still will be able to get that additional normal of a Medius. You can discard one spell trap, then declare one Art Mage monster card name, so that would be Graflair, Power Patron, Latera, Finmel, what have you, and grab that monster from deck to hand. And you can only add one of those names per turn, so meaning that you can't pitch 3 and grab 3 Graflair. It has to be Graflair once per turn, Power Patron once per turn, Latera once per turn, Finmel once per turn. Yeah, in addition to this, though, it's also worded very interestingly. Yeah, it has to be a different one than you control as well. So I can't have Graflair on the field and search Graflair. I can't have Latera on field and search Latera, which is why we're playing a lot of these Art Mage monsters at 1 or 2. Again, same math-wise here. 3, 3, 2, 2, or 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1. The names are very important, and how we balance those names is very key. It also locks you in a very specific way. So add that monster from your deck to your hand. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except Art Mage monsters or Medius the Pure, or from the extra deck, meaning that the only things you can special summon are the Art Mage monsters themselves or monsters from the extra deck. And that's where Assault's going to come in. This card does come up quite frequently. So when this card is activated, you can add one Medius the Pure from your deck to your hand. You can target one face-up monster you control. If that face-up monster would be used as fusion material this turn, it can be treated as an Art Mage monster. So this is very nice if you have to make like a cross sheet play, or you can interrupt it and you have to end up making a link, like making Lina stealing your opponent's light monster, making it a Art Mage monster, and then being able to fuse it off is very nice. Additionally, you can, if the field spell would be destroyed, would be destroyed by a card effect, you can send this card you control to the graveyard instead. So it does have that built-in protection for the field spell. Alteration. So this is a 2-of. It's essentially a terraforming in the worst case, or in best case, it adds you another card if you already have a field spell up. So if you already have the field spell up, or if you don't have the field spell up, I should say, it lets you place one directly from your deck or graveyard face up. So it does play around terraforming that way, it does play around Droll that way, as well as Ash, because it directly places it. The only thing it does play into is Ghost Spell. In addition, so you can grab that. If you already have it, cool, you can grab Assault, you can grab Succession, you can grab Awakening. It lets you grab other pieces. Except itself. And you can banish this card from your graveyard, negate an attack. So if a monster is declared on that, you can just negate the attack. Then you can special summon Medius the Pure from your hand. So if you have that additional Medius in hand, or you have a way to search another Medius, it also gets you into a play on your opponent's turn, which can be very nice. Succession. So during the main phase, fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field, including an Art Mage monster. And if a card is in the field zone, that monster gains 500 attack. So if you fusion summon with this and you have a card in the field zone, which would be the field spell here, that additional monster gains 500 attack, which is very nice. And then during your main phase, you can banish this card, target 3 Art Mage cards with different names in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck. So this is how we're going to be able to manipulate, like if we have to search a field spell, we can banish this, return it, the field spell and other cards, put them back, and then we have the ability to search the field spell again. And then Awakening. Awakening is one of the best cards in this deck. Special summon one Art Mage monster or one Medius the Pure from your deck. Also, for the rest of this turn, the activation of your cards and effects that include an effect that fusion summon a fusion monster cannot be negated. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when a monster is fusion summoned this way. So that means that your Succession, as well as your Power Patron effects to fusion summon, will not be able to be interrupted. It also gets you an additional name, so you can go Awakening into Medius. Medius gets you Power Patron, and then you fusion off from there. It also has a banish effect. All of these cards have a banish effect except for the field spell, and I guess also Assault, because Assault sends itself instead. But Awakening will allow you to, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target one Artmage monster you control, return that monster to the hand or extra deck, and if you do, destroy one card your opponent controls. So, and you can only use one effect per turn. So that means that on your turn, you can, or on your opponent's turn, you can summon a monster, and then during your turn, you can banish this to return one to maybe start the loop again to pop a monster. Or any card they control. That kind of covers the main deck monsters for now. We have 3 more cards that will be coming out for the lore. There's also Thea Realize, which is technically more of a Medius card than anything else. It lets you send a Medius from your deck to the grave, look at opponent's hand, look at the top card of your opponent's deck, and then you get to choose if you want to put it on top or bottom, as well as banishing it and declaring target one monster you control, change the type and attribute, which is very, very cool. Until the end of the opponent's turn. So this can also come up decently. The problem is that it turns the Medius 1.5 into essentially a 1.75, where you have to have 2 cards to interact with, one of which having to be a monster. So that is something to consider with that as well. That's why we're not playing it. And then we have new cards coming out that we will add to as we go. We have Artmage Diactorus, so requires Medius the Pure and one Artmage monster. You can target one monster on the field, change its battle position. So that's very nice. Just change the monster's battle position on during your turn. When your opponent activates a card or effect on the field, and you control 3 or more different monster types on the field, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So what's good to know too is that all of the Artmage monsters have different types. So Warrior, Spellcaster, Illusion, Dragon, Fairy. Then we have Fairy, and then Illusion again. So as long as you have 3 different types out, this is a quick effect negate of anything. So it's more of a Hot Red. An Abyss, yeah. This fusion summon card is destroyed. You can special summon Medius the Pure from your hand, deck, or banishment. This is very nice too. Again, gets you back into another Diactorus potentially, or other fusion play, if it's interrupted or destroyed. The other card is Nerva. So Nerva, the Power Patron of Creation, requires 3 Artmage monsters, which is kind of a lot, but you'll see in the combos that it makes it a little more easier. You can expend most of your other combo pieces or things that do their effects and then make this card. Additionally, you can also special summon this card from your extra deck in defense position by tributing 3 monsters with different types. Those where those types come in again, and a lot of our extra deck has different types as well for that exact reason. You can only special summon this card once per turn. When a card while a card is in the field zone, this card cannot be destroyed by card effects, which is very key. 3,300, and then if you use Succession to make it, it's going to be 38, which is very difficult to deal with. So card destruction protection is very nice. Once per turn, when you activate an Artmage monster effect, quick effect, you can make that effect become destroy all cards your opponent controls. Now, the way this card is worded is very similar to Thunder Dragon Titan in the sense that your opponent does have a chance to interact. If they do have no way to interact, then you can, or they choose not to interact, you can chain Nerva, use her effect to destroy all, to make that effect that you declared a different effect. This is probably going to be I have it in 2 in here just kind of to show off for now. But in other lists that I have, this is a 1. And that covers the Artmage cards. Everything else is kind of just adding on to it. Fusion Deployment lets you get into Medius faster. Super Poly, because we have the room in the extra deck and we're a fusion deck, so it's nice to be able to do that. Hand traps galore, very key. The one I really do want to talk about, though, is Imperm. Imperm is kind of a key piece here. We may end up playing it. We may not end up playing it. Depends on the format. But as of right now, the format's kind of moving away from Imperm, which I guess I understand with all of the Vanquish Soul things running around, and it makes sense to maybe side this card instead. But for this deck, we do need that Spell Trap pitch for the field spell, so because of that, we are playing this card. Very well, this card could be something else. This could be a another spell, like a book a card, or it could be a sales band or something along those lines. And we do have other lists that we'll be talking about here. Like this is probably more so a list that I will be playing with a broader fusion package and different things to be done here. Sales band's a very key card. If you didn't watch the World Champion or the Nationals for the U.S. this last weekend, this card's very key in that. It helped Gem Knight climb to top 4, which is really cool to see. It's also very good going second, being able to declare a card across the board from you that may not have been there or may not be in your deck, and being able to just turn it off like a Mitsurugi monster or a Ryziel monster or a Malice monster, something along those lines. So cards like that can really come up as well. And you'll see as well we have other types of combos, and we'll talk about that throughout the video. So yeah, we'll go from here. Getting back to the actual spreadsheet itself, you can also explore these. We have example lists. Again, these are not guaranteed. They're not mandatory. They're just kind of examples to look at. So potential deck synergies that we have found, the first of which being Fiendsmith. Fiendsmith is obviously the best sub-engine in the game. It can turn anything into anything. And it'll also, we'll talk about it too, but some of these combos do become more ingrained with other combos that we're going to end up doing. That if you have 2 monsters, you can just kind of pivot into other combo lines. Another one is Branded. Branded's talked about a lot. I'm honestly not a huge fan of this list. I'm not a huge fan of this list because of all of the pitching you have to do. Like, you only have so many cards to get rid of, and sometimes it's just too much. You don't want to end your turn with nothing in hand. And then the last ones are Azamina. These are kind of like introductory ones that we've talked about. Kind of unexplored for the moment being, because this spreadsheet's more focused on the actual Art Mage combos themselves. And because of that, we want to make sure that we have some potential in the future, as well as even looking at the Dark Magician structure deck stuff. It really breaks the deck wide open, potentially. So this is definitely something to look at and look forward to. We are going to be adding some new combos from Dude once they become more available to us, so we become more a better understanding of it. There are 3 new cards we could potentially play, but we're also saving it just in case we have another monster revealed or something like that, which can happen. But once we have a confirmed Dude set, we'll probably add to this. And it will be constantly, like I said, constantly updating, so you will always have the most new information with this. Down here, we have the potential engine supporters. So these are cards that could potentially have an impact on the deck and could be seen in the deck as play. But they may not always be viable. Fusion Deployment's obviously a big one. Salesman's a big one. Diviner is a potential one. We'll go over this too, but Diviner allows for you to kind of target and address key monsters by dumping. So it serves the same purpose as Thea Realize, which is not a card we're playing in on any of our lists. But it dumps the monster and then gives you a monster to put back. So you're not actually committing another resource to the card. You're just shuffling back the same monster. Prisma, it's the same concept, but the difference here is that we get to play a Hero Lives, which is very key. But the cost of half your life points is also obviously turning us off of it as well. Earth Golem Agnister, just super poly target. Same thing with Starving Venom, Tripho Vivertum. Cartesia and Quem cards as well have potential with the branded build. And then the anti-hand trap Canine Engine. I'll go over this a little bit later on, but we do talk about, like, well, is Fusion Deployment absolutely necessary if we're going to play things like the Canine cards? And then down here is future potential cards. These are cards that could be good moving forward, depending on the future support and where we go with it. On the second page here, we have an example deck list of what each one looks like, as well as like cards you may add in, what the extra decks may look like, ratios, stuff like that. So let's talk about the combos themselves. So to start going over some of the combos themselves, a lot of our basic combos are going to be off of 1.5 cards. The big ones are Art Mage, Vandalism, Assault, plus a pitch card. The thing about this deck is that there, at the moment, are no straight 1-card combos. Everything is going to require a 1.5, which can be a pain in the butt, but it can be solved later on, again, with future support. But we're going to start, and just going to go quickly through a couple of these combos to talk about like the anti-hand trap combos that we do have listed. And I'll get into some of the synergy combos from there. And we can talk more about how these cards and these hand traps can be more effective. So we'll start here. This is the straight up normal Artmage 1.5 combo with Vandalism. So we're going to start by activating Assault. Assault's going to grab us Medius. We're going to normal summon that Medius. Medius is going to get us our Power Patron of Artmage. This is going to allow us to fuse. We're going to summon our own Diactorus. And then we're going to trigger the Imprisoned Deity because it was sent to the graveyard to add the Academy. Activate Academy, pitching the spell trap that we had in hand to grab Graflair. Graflair is going to summon itself because we do control an Artmage card. And then we're going to trigger its effect to set the change. We're then going to activate change to grab Laterra. Special summon Laterra using her effect to grab back that change again. And then we're going to use it as pitch fodder from the Divine Arts to grab ourselves a Fine Mill. Then we're going to summon the Fine Mill, and that's pretty much the end of the board. I know it seems pretty simple. The Fine Mill is also going to get us a draw. Off of that 1.5 interaction, we're going to end on a Field Negate through Fine Mill. Our monsters are protected. Level 6 or lower Artmage monsters are protected by card effects. We have the ability to negate card on field with Diactoros. Graflair is a spell trap pop, and then Laterra is a reborn, so Laterra will allow us to do some very interesting things by bouncing herself to summon Power Patron. Then Power Patron can trigger, as well as Fine Mill to trigger, and the card in hand, Diffusion Summon, our Nerva. Nerva effect can trigger now, and then we can use Graflair effect to try to pop a spell trap using, well, typically targeting Assault, or maybe if our opponent has a card, we can target that, and then trigger Nerva to destroy the entire board. This is like the big monster heavy combo board. There is another line which is probably better, but I wanted to show this one off as well. It's the same start. So activating the Assault, getting Medius, Medius grabbing Power Patron, using the effect to fuse them off, making Diactorus, using effect of Power Patron to search the Artmage Academy, activating Academy, pitching the spell trap to grab our Graflair, and then summoning Graflair. This line doesn't really change for the most part. We're still going to go change, but the difference here is that instead of grabbing Laterra now, we're going to grab Awakening. And then we're going to use the field spell to pitch the Awakening to grab Laterra, and then we're going to use Laterra to grab back the trap. So essentially this does end on this same board. The difference now is that we're using Awakening to summon Fine Mill. And it's essentially the same board. The difference here, though, is that Awakening is that built-in protection for fusion summons. So, special summon Artmage monster or Medius the Innis and Medius the Pure from your deck. Also, this turn, the activation of your cards and effects that include an effect that fusion summon a monster cannot be negated. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when a fusion is summoned this way. So it's that same magical meltdown effect that is becoming more and more standard in fusion decks. It's very nice because it allows you to chain block and allows you to protect your fusions from activating. It means that when you go to fusion summon with your Power Patron, it cannot be stopped. So no matter what, you have the ability to fuse into something. But from here, you can use the Power Patron effect to search. And then if you want to save the Graflair effect or what have you, or whatever effect you haven't used, Power Patron will search you a monster, and you can replace it with Nerva if you need to. But that's kind of, uninterrupted 1.5 card combos. You still have 3 other cards in hand. Fine Mill will also be a draw if you open it, or if you summon it from hand, so you will end on a 4-card hand in this combo line. And then from here, we will talk about the anti-nib. We have an anti-nib and a through-nib combo line. I will quickly talk about these, because I think they are important to see what this deck can do. So we're going to start with that same 1.5. And we're going to go through proceeding essentially the same combo. The difference is we're going to stop a little bit earlier. So 1 summon, 2 summons, 3 summons. Effect, we're going to add the field spell, activate field spell, pitch, add Graflair, summon Graflair. That's 4 summons. And we're going to go straight into setting the trap here. If you fear nib, or if you think your opponent has nib, it's really nice. You lose the board negate, which can be problematic, but you do have a way to play still. So you can go Awakening into Fine Mill, Awakening into Laterra, grab back the Deity Beast, fuse all 3 away. And you can still get to Nerva that way, but you will lose the Diactorus, so you want to make sure that before you activate the Power Patron effect, or before you get rid of Laterra, or as long as you have 3 monsters with different types on field, you want to be able to use that Diactorus effect. So that does play under Nib. Through Nib is a little bit different, and it does require some of the cards in the extra deck that we looked at earlier, things like Cross Sheep, so they do come up. Again, they're going to be the same start. The Super Poly and a monster and Assault. So you do need more cards for this. You need at least 2 spells and a monster for this. It's the same 1.5. The difference is we're going to get nibbed. So this is going to be the ending on the trap and that board. So once we get there, Graph Lair set, Search Awakening, Pitch Awakening, grab Laterra, summon Laterra, grab back Awakening, set Awakening. Yeah, and then we get nibbed. So once we get nibbed, we're going to be able to activate the spell. Again, searching, we're going to grab Find Mail. We do still control an Artmage card, which is key here. The fact that we still control Artmage cards means that the Artmage monsters can still summon themselves. And we're getting a draw off of Find Mail, so as long as you were under Droll and Lockbird, like which we draw on here, we still can proceed the combo. And we haven't used Medius's effect in grave yet, which is key. So this is where these extra cards in hand, whether it be Fualos or Perulia or some other monster that we can't use, we'll be able to put it back and link summon. So we're going to end up summoning Cross Sheep. And then we're able to banish the Medius and go from there. Because Medius will get banished off its own effect. We'll set the Awakening, and then on our opponent's turn, we're going to be able to activate Awakening, summon the Medius from deck, because it does summon Medius. And then Medius will get us our Deity Beast. Deity Beast can fuse, fusing off the 2 to make our Diactorus, a second one, which will trigger the Cross Sheep, allowing us to bring back Laterra, and Laterra can then pop herself off to summon back the Graph Lair. So we still have a few interaction points here. We're never ending off of less than 3 monster types on field. So all of these cards should always be live. And that's some of the examples that you're going to see in this spreadsheet. We have more with just the Academy. We have more with just Medius. There's a lot of combo lines that also just flow through Medius, which is very nice. And you'll notice too, like I have notes that pop up here that say can be accomplished through fusion deployment. So that is very important as well. The Arcane Academy stuff. So the Fiendsmith combos, these are a little different, and there's a couple ones, and I will be showing off both. Essentially what we're going to be doing is just adding the Fiendsmith cards to our combo. So we'll grab the Engraver, and then we'll grab another trap. So a spell trap pitch. So Engraver, grab Tract. Tract effect gets us Lurie. Lurie effect gets us into the Requiem. We all know the Fiendsmith lines by now. Lacrima dump. We're going to set up a Caesar. So that way, any monster, we're protected from monster effects, so we don't have to worry about the Nibiru play, which means we can essentially play this combo that we did earlier through Nib. Yeah, but play through the combo through Nib. Change into Awakening, Pitch Awakening, grabbing Laterra summon, adding back the trap. And we're ending on that same board, but with additional interruptions. Now, what's nice, too, is that obviously we can pivot through the Fiendsmith engine. For example, if that standard end board that we had earlier, we can, at the moment, link off a Graph Lair or link off other monsters that we may have on field or another engine piece you may have to go into that Heavenly into Requiem and then go from there. So this deck does have other potentials as well. Looking at my deck list for it, again, it's not the best list, I will say that. Because this list hasn't really been updated in a minute. Well, I mean, it has been, but not so much to the extent that it should be. But it's the same kind of combo pieces here. The one thing I do really want to show off is the potential of the White Forest combo. So I stumbled on this engine a while ago. And I think I played the deck. I really enjoy the White Forest deck. So I saw the synergies, and I went for it. So starting with Vandalism, it's going to grab us our Medius. Then we're going to go normal summon Sylvie. Sylvie grab Tails. Tails is actually going to grab us Azamina LZ. So we're using the Sylvie engine, or the White Forest engine, to get into other pieces. Then we're going to be able to activate Azamina LZ, summoning herself, using her effect to fuse. So we're going to fuse the 2 off. We're going to make Murcielago. Murcielago will grab us Wanted. Activate Wanted, grabbing us Dia Bellstar. we're going to be able to summon the Diabell Star by sending that Moo, using the effect to set Deception, activate Deception, sending the Media, attributing off the Medius to grab Hallowed Azamina, using Hallowed Azamina, sending the Deception to set up an Ilia Sylvia. So now we have a negate setup on top of the board where we haven't even started playing yet. Since Diabell Star is pretty much unneeded now, or will be unneeded, we can add back Hallowed Azamina, and we're going to use this card for a combo piece in just a minute here. So remember that this deck does need, that I would say that the combos are 1.5, you need a 1.5, you need to have a spell in hand to pitch. The Azamina engine provides that. So following these combo lines, we have the potential to use Hallowed Azamina as another pitch card later in our combos, which I really, really enjoy. I will be testing this out very soon, at least locally. Medius will be able to put back the Diabell Star and summon itself back. So now we have Diabell Star back in rotation. And we're also going to have a draw setup off the Wanted and Deception. So now we can use Medius effect, summon the Power Patron. You've seen these lines before. Go into Diactress. The big difference here is that Medius is banished. So that may come up later on. We're going to grab Academy, activate Academy, use the Hallowed to get into our normal combo lines here. Then do Awakening, use the field spell, grab Laterra, grab back the Awakening. Now, adding such a large engine, because I will show off the engine here. Again, this list does need a quick update, but we're adding quite a decently large engine here. It may seem kind of pointless to do this just to get an additional negate setup, but by adding into the deck and being able to search cards that will benefit the engine itself is very nice. At the moment, it is about 12 cards, give or take, and it probably could be shaved down to about 10. But you do want to have these excess pieces just in case. And this also is completely unexplored. I could be adding in more pieces as well, like adding in an LZ or adding in like the other Azamina fusions. So those are options that could be seen later on as well. But seeing this combo line is very good. It helps establish a combo negate, but also provides that 0.5 piece that we were missing. Looking into potential future support with the Dark Magician structure deck, this is extremely untested, but a lot of the listing and stuff like this was talking about, oh, well, we can play at the cost of 1 additional card in the main deck and 2 in the extra deck. We can set up 2 Omni Negates off of the Sylvie engine that I talked about earlier on top of our Grappler, or on top of our Art Mage plays. The biggest issue, though, with this is that we do not know when we're getting the Dark Magician structure. So starting again with Sylvie and Assault, we can normal summon Sylvie. Sylvie will grab us the Tails. Assault grabs us Medius. It's the same kind of lines here, grabbing LZ, summon LZ, fusion off, making Murcielago, do a Diabell Star. We're gonna set that Deception, but here's the difference here is that we actually sent the Diabell Star off of the Medius. Or sorry, we set the Medius off the Diabell Star because we're going to end up tributing the Diabell Star anyways. So we're going to be able to grab that Gaze at Timaeus. Demod just lets you, if you've activated a spell card this turn, tribute a level 6 or higher Dark Spellcaster. Diabell Star fits that description. And now we can use Deception to tribute off the Demod on field to grab a Hallowed Azamina and then set up our negate. The question you're asking now is, okay, well, how are we getting Medius back? Well, we're just putting Murcielago back. Because we can put back that Azamina LZ to grab back the Hallowed, so we have that additional spell pitch. We can go Gaze of Timaeus now to set up the Dragoon, because Timaeus lets you shuffle back monsters that are Dark Magician to get to it. It's destroyed during the next end phase, though. Yeah. Banished it during the next end phase, excuse me. And Demod always counts as a Dark Magician, which is very nice. You can only special this card once per turn. Yeah. This card's name becomes Dark Magician while face up on the field or in the graveyard, so we're going to be able to shuffle it back here and summon that Dragoon. And then we can go Medius, put back the Moo, summon itself. So we have 2 negates set up at the cost of nothing to our engine. The only thing we did is we added an additional card. 1 additional card. And then we just proceed our combo as normal from here. So we'll do that, go into the Diactress. We want to summon it in the main extra monster zone because we are out of zones. So that's a key piece to think about as well. Go Graffler gets the change, Vanish gets the awakening, pitch awakening, grab Latera. Latera will summon herself, grabbing back the trap, and we've set up the entire board that we had before with an additional draw. So within just the engine itself, we've replaced it. So the Wanted gets us a drawback. So during our opponent's turn, what that 2-card combo is still a true 2-card combo, even with the Dragoon negate. So we have met the cost for the field spell. We've met the cost for Dragoon with just these engines together. And again, this is something that'll probably be explored more once we have a confirmation on when the demod structure is coming out. But until then, this is what we've been working on. Again, the deck list is something you guys can look over in your free time if you have the time. And then the hand traps. So the hand trap spreadsheet is kind of breaking down by Mulcharmy, by Ghost Girl, high impact hand traps that are seeing play right now. There's probably a couple more things I want to add in here. I probably will be adding things like Salesman, Droplets, things of those natures. But they're not super effective against us because we can just, whatever they declare, we just use it as fusion material to go into Nerva anyways. And they've essentially done nothing. But that's going to be the introduction to the Art Mage spreadsheet. I will leave you with, please check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/abyssal_gaming_YGO. We stream Monday through Wednesday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you're interested in learning more about this or any other future deck that will be covered through this lore, we will be covering it as well. We have started on the Doom Z spreadsheet with 1-card combos already ready to go. So hopefully we'll see you guys back here soon, and thank you for checking us out. Have a good day.